back. The time is now.
Welcome, one and all.
Hey,
happy anniversary! Yes, indeed. 4 years today for the takeover. It seems to have gone so quick. We were just talking there. I mean, to be fair, we were talking so much in the background, we forgot what time it was. So apologies, we're a couple of minutes late. But anyway, I suppose you can class it as a special one today. We're going to have a quick look at that day, that special occasion in a minute. Mighty Winds have got a video set up for that. So we're going to go through that. But I suppose before we get into today's show, I suppose we better do the housework. So again, welcome to everybody watching across all of the platforms. Thanks to everybody that works in the background. Don't forget the most important thing for us, and it's totally free, is to smash that bell, hit the like button and subscribe. All totally free. But it just allows us to get out there to other NUFC supporters. So thank you so much for what you've done so far. But if you can continue to do that, that will be fantastic. You can also support us by becoming a member. Small monthly fee. It's 2 different levels to choose from. You can choose whichever one you feel you can afford. If you've got a question for me or the Mighty, then put a Q in front of it. But it ain't guaranteed because we have lots of chat. So if you want to guarantee it, then use the $sign. And then follow the instructions, and that will get a super chat going your way. So, and that will be mentioned. If you obviously become a member during the show, or anybody gifts memberships out there, we will highlight you and thank you as we go. And obviously, if you want to, there's still an opportunity for anybody to come on board with a £5 entry fee to participate in the prediction leagues. It's where you predict the scoreline for every Newcastle match. It's not as easy as it sounds, trust me. And we are a few games in now, but there's only something like 19 or 20 points actually being scored so far. So I think that's James who's got that at the moment. So he's the front runner on 20 points, being closely followed by a lot. But like I say, you can still jump on board. The 6 places get some prizes. The top 4
correct scores away from the leader.
Yeah, exactly. So like I say, but it's not easy. But if you want to join us, then you can jump on board with that. Some early people in the chat. So Hell, Sean's with us, Shane's with us, Andy Bell's with us. Welcome. Trolls is with us. Paul Hard is with us. I think that's all I can see for now. So welcome one and all in the chat. Like
if you happen to be new, by the way, hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. We are 10 short. 10 short.
That 8,000 milestone.
8,000. So hit the subscribe if you haven't already.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
Get the notifications and you'll find out when we're on.
And I must apologise because I am full of cold. So if it sounds like the Tunes advert, for those of us that are old enough, Tunes. That's the reasons why. So I may be going silent or even off air if I have a sneezing competition with the rest of the household, because we are all under the flu epidemic, as we class it as man flu. So yeah, apologies if I sound a bit chesty and a bit nasally, more than I normally do. So 4 years to the day before. When the takeover was done, there was a lot of rumours, a lot of news. I came up to Newcastle on the day. Amazing atmosphere outside St James's Park. If you could get anywhere near St James's Park, to be fair, it was mental. And we got a situation on board where, like I say, there was the news reporters were out there. I saw Keith Downing, who was waiting to hear the news come through to say that the takeover had actually been done. There was a lot of people still quite angry at Mike Ashley, and there was still a lot of banners out around saying Mike Ashley out, and lots of noise around that. So a lot of pressure on the day. And like I say, didn't it go mental when the news
once Keith Downey did his report from outside the Jasmine Dean Hotel,
Yeah.
With Amanda coming out and confirming everything. It is now official kind of thing. That was the signal for everybody to head down to the park.
Yeah. It was phenomenal. It really was, like I say, and all the local suckers that were around. You've got the video here that was...
Fantastic!
I'm absolutely buzzing. Absolutely buzzing.
Mike Ashley, the boogeyman is gone! I nearly swore there again. He's gone!
Next year championship is for Newcastle.
Yes!
Oh, it's unbelievable. Like, just look. It's unbelievable. Such a sick feeling. Finish work straight down here to celebrate with everyone. I think one of the big things we're seeing is like it unites the city again. It brings everybody back together. Football's huge for the people here. It's huge to everyone. And you can see the way everyone's just good, humoured fun, having a good time, celebrating. Yeah, it's brilliant.
Absolutely joyous. I had to come down. Normally we'd just be having my tea in the house, but I had to come down and just join in the celebrations, you know. Well, it can only be a good thing, you know, to compete again in the Premier League instead of being in the doldrums, just to get pride back in the city, you know. It hasn't sunk in yet, to be honest. Like, this is honestly, it's just amazing. But yeah, it's just pride in the city again, you know. And you know, instead of being the laughing stock, you know, that's what it's all about.
Absolutely amazing. It's been 10, 15 years in the making. Like, my childhood was seeing Bobby Robson and stuff like that succeed, and then as I started following the club properly, it was the Mike Ashley era, and I've been used to just shite for 15 years, and it's what it's going to mean for the area as well as the team, like investing in the area, giving the stadium a lick of paint, and just making the city feel united again. Like, it's huge. It's absolutely huge. First off, survive the season, get a strong team, get the feeling back, get the stadium full again, get the club with a better feeling. We can think about titles and stuff in a decade. We just want our club back, and we've got it today. We've got it.
Excellent. It was amazing scenes, if I'm honest, from everything that went on during that day and continued, if I'm honest with you, for majority of the week post that. It was absolutely fantastic news, and you know, people in the chat have already started to throw some out there, and we've got did you wear a tea towel? I'll tell you something now. I bet a lot of mums were absolutely livid with their kids with the amount of tea towels that went missing that day. I'll tell you now. A couple of people have started.
Tesco sold out of them.
Yeah, I can imagine. Trolls are saying 4 years already. It's insane how fast the years have gone by. That's exactly what we were just saying. It's incredible the amount of time. DX is in the chat. What a party! Win shirtless while Sam Fender was playing tunes in the local bar. Yeah, I can just see it now. But yeah, I mean, listen. There's also a question for you. Somebody has put in about who do you class as the here, I think it's here. DX Win. Who's your first choice back four for us when everyone's fit?
Do I have to go on under this when it's happy anniversary day?
Yeah, exactly.
But when everybody's fit, my top rated back four, as in who I think would do the best job, would be Livramento, Chow, Byrne, and Hall. However, if you're talking about we're looking to the future, can we rely on Botman? Then obviously the future is Livramento, Chow, Botman, and Hall. But do we need results this season or next season? Do we need, do you maybe sacrifice something this season so that or even for a section of the season whilst Botman and Chow build that partnership up and become the centre back partnership that we all hope they can be. But I still personally think, I'm in a very small minority by all accounts, but I still think right now Byrne is the better centre back of the two. And, he's the only current international out of all three of them. Botman kind of get picked for Holland and Chow kind of get picked for Germany. So there you go. That's what I think, DX, me bonny lad.
Yeah, there you go. I mean, it's an interesting.
And there's the other thing, by the way. I mean, I'm not sure I necessarily go along with this rumour about Botman being on Liverpool's radar. We do know that he was very friendly with Isaac, the Rat. Sorry, my apologies for mentioning the name that should not be mentioned. But his public statement when Isaac went, if he's pals and you want to say he could have done that quite privately without going public on it. So, that's another thing that you've got to consider. But the main thing for me is fitness. The best ability is availability. And Botman has proven that you can't rely on him for any length of time. If you can put that behind him, fantastic. I'd love to see it, obviously. And, Dan's not getting any younger. We all know that. But I think particularly this season, after what he's done for the club since he came, and with the World Cup being on the horizon, he's definitely not going to make the England squad if he's not playing regular football. And I think it would be grossly unfair to take him out.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be an interesting one going forward when we have got everybody back fit, because for once, I suppose I can honestly say potentially in my lifetime, Eddie Howe has actually got a backline now that you could pick multiple players to play in multiple positions. The problem is for us, and that's why I said at the end of the match, the weekend on Sunday, was the fact that I think, everybody's talking about how thin we are up top. I think the biggest problem for me now is getting another Tino Livramento in the squad. And the reasons why I say that is somebody who's adaptable to play both right back and left back. For me, it's about balance and unbalance. If you can get somebody in that can revert to both roles. We know Lewis Hall will potentially be the future left back, and we know Tino Livramento will potentially be the right fullback. But if all goes, then we know Tino Livramento, as he's shown, absolutely fantastically for me, quite comfortable playing at left back. But who comes in to that right back position from Tino Livramento is still under debate for me, because as much as I believe that Trippier can do a job for us, he ain't getting any younger. So I believe that this could potentially, and will probably be, his last season for us. And then you go to the next best thing, and that's why you guys were talking about, the Louis Shahar is now training with the first team, and you've got Alex Murphy now training with the first team. Are they, at this present moment in time, ready for the Premier League? Well, the obvious answer to that is no, they probably aren't. So for me, instead of looking for a out-and-out striker, there's two positions for me that we are desperate in need of replacing sooner. And I'm not saying it has to happen in January, but I think right full-back is an important one. And I also believe another centre midfielder that frees up a couple of our midfielders to go forth. And we've seen the damage that they can do if you allow them that free role. So I think there's probably a couple of areas that need to be replaced before we even consider going in for the another striker. But again, that depends on if the news is correct out there. And let's go into a little bit of the news. And it goes on, I suppose you can say that it goes on from where we are with the injury. So we may as well do a little bit of the injury news so far. I mean, you mentioned that I said a medial tear, and I think you got it mixed up a little bit with Wissa. It was Tino Livramento, what I said, had got an MCL injury, a grade 2 tear, which is he's gonna be out between 6 and 10 weeks. So they've questioned lesser, because for me, when I look at the type of work the physios do on these kids, ultrasound, constant checks on the injury, they're constantly getting treatment, heat and cold treatment. So the chances of these being more available and ready to play earlier than the average guy is paramount. So I'm going to edge my bet and say 6 to 8 weeks, but usually it's 8 to 10 weeks on this type of injury. Now, Louis Hall, obviously, we heard about him. Again, I didn't see anything in the game. I thought it was the previous week, but obviously he wasn't playing at Arsenal. He was given the day off. So when he came on for the last 15 or so minutes, it was apparently he felt something twang, but it wasn't severe enough where he pulled up. He carried on playing, and then obviously had it. He spoke to the physios post the match and said that he felt sort of like a bit of a soreness at the back of his thigh, and obviously we are still yet to hear the full extent of that damage, whether it is a tear to the hamstring or whether it is literally just a tightness of the hamstring. So again, that is an issue. Going on to Yoane Wissa, which is what you guys were talking about yesterday in your show. There's been a setback to his recovery. And the rumours again, there was lots of rumours that came out the other day saying it was an ACL, still not confirmed. But what has been confirmed is that it's a setback that he could see him out for a further 2 to 4 weeks. So that will literally bring him back into probably the equation in the new year, which is crazy. And then you get the likes of, all the rumours now that Newcastle have gone directly to FIFA and demanded compensation for his wages to be paid by Congo for that injury. And like I say, it's certainly a bigger injury than we first thought with, isn't it? With Wissa. And like I said, you watched the game fully. You were making a bit of a laugh and a joke because it seemed as if he'd fell over his own feet. But
it was comical.
Well, yeah, I mean, I've seen the replays, mate. It's really weird. But you'd made the point that he'd actually been taken down and chopped down
Clattered just
multiple times.
Well, less than 2 minutes beforehand.
Yeah.
And that was the last, as you've just said, of a culmination. You know, that you got no protection at all from the referee.
Yeah.
They were just taking them out.
Yeah, but that's a bit of a shock to the system, isn't it? When you think about it, because having him not available now for potentially January is what the rumours are. But again, there's been nothing confirmed by the club because I suppose they are just keeping everything crossed that we haven't just got Nick Woltemade to be involved. And there's been a little bit of news on Woltemade, actually. Jacob Ramsey, let's go on to Jacob Ramsey. He's nearing a return. There was a lot of expectation that he would be involved the weekend on Sunday against Forest, or at least be on the bench, but there was still no sign of him after recovering from the ankle injury. But he's reportedly back training fully and should be available, definitely after the international break, you would have thought. And then there's also Nick Woltemade, like I say, there's going to be a delay on joining the national team because apparently he's got flu, or he's got flu-like symptoms. Though he's been in good form for Newcastle, as we've seen. And again, there seems to be a lot of interest. And obviously Sven Botman has impressed in recent matches after recovering from a knee injury, but reports suggest he may not get selected. Well, we know he's not going to get selected for Netherlands because they have got a rather large selection pool. But they are getting, obviously, older. And like I say, I think with Sven Botman's form at the minute, I think it's a matter of time rather than never, if that makes any sense. Very similar to the Malik Chow situation, how he's not getting picked for Germany, actually in the squad. I'm not saying a starting 11, but from what I've seen from the starting 11, he certainly got what it takes to actually get there. So your thoughts on the injuries then, mate?
Well, it's just typical Newcastle, isn't it? You know, we go out and we strengthen the squad, and the people we're strengthening the squad with are not available. It's happened too often, to tell you the truth. And one of the reasons that was given for our injury crisis was Eddie's, training regime that was too tough, kind of thing. And that was commented on by a lot of players when they've joined the club. They said, bloody hell, I thought I was fit till I came here, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Lewis Hall, Anthony Gordon, two prime examples of being, literally quoted on saying that. And so then Mr. Bunce came in to supervise it. And to be fair, last season looked to be doing a great job. Eddie obviously works well with him. Eddie's never backward and coming forward with praise for him. So is that, and I was saying that on the pitch, where the press that we were so famous for is not happening to the same degree by any means, and also we're starting to tire in the last 10 minutes of games, and that's resulted in goals that have cost us. So it's a delicate balancing exercise, and who's to say who's right and who's wrong? Both can be true at the same time, I suppose. But the trouble is, we're doing not that we necessarily should do. After all, it's somebody's personal medical information, but we don't know the full extent. Everybody thought Ramsey was going to be out until November, and then all of a sudden Eddie's saying he could be on the bench on Sunday. So could we be getting him back a bit sharper? But he's not really one of the key ones. It's Livramento and Hall that are the worries for me.
Well, isn't it typical? You get Target out on loan, hoping that it eases some of the cash flow because it does. Who,
by the way, is playing out of his skin for Middlesbrough.
We said that,
albeit in the Championship.
Yeah, we said that. I mean, like I say, I think that's his level. If I'm honest with you, I think if you always see players that can step up to the max, if you like. But when they are literally in the background a lot of the time within the club at the Premier League level, you can see there's a massive change in him as well. I think he's playing with a lot of confidence as well now, and I think that shines. But I think at the end of the day, we are now, as you quite rightly say, in a typical Newcastle situation where we've allowed players to go out on loan without the vision of a crystal ball in front of us, because hindsight's a wonderful thing, as DX has already said there. And now we've got our two main fullbacks, if you like, because as we've mentioned previously, both Lewis Hall coming back from a long term, and he has been nurtured back. It's not as if he's been rushed back. We've all questioned. Yeah, one
of the reasons he hasn't been rushed back is the very versatility you're talking about, because when Livramento has played left back, I actually think he's played better at left back than he does at right back.
Well, I must have, like I said, I agree to that. And there's a part of that makes me agree to that. He's simple. He's right-footed. And a lot of opposition teams now actually play with inverted wingers. So they're actually coming onto their strong foot, and he's tackling with their strong foot. And I think it suits him down to the ground playing left back. And it's like I said, I honestly believe, as we do with every single player at Newcastle United, and it seems to have happened for many a season now, there's a scapegoat. There's a scapegoat in every single team. We've seen it before. Longstaff was one, Willock had his fair share. And now we've got Dan Burn playing left back. The scapegoat for all performances or anything that goes bad in the side. And to be fair, you can't blame him for playing left back, because we haven't got any available players that can play there. So he's out there to do a job for us. And he's doing a canny job. Like I said, I made the post-match game against Forest. It would have been easier for anybody to have a flash of blood, rush straight through to the head, and think, I'm 20 yards out. Imagine if it was Fabian Schär. Let's take it another thought. If Fabian Schär was on the 20-yard mark, do you think he'd have passed to Bruno? I don't think so. There would have been a shot. So, for me, it was a case of he did exactly what he needed to do. He knows his levels of play, because, again, if he didn't know what he could and can't do, he certainly wouldn't have passed a 5 or 6 yard ball to somebody who could do the job. And he stated that. He's got a big enough pair of kahunas. And by the way, I'm talking about kahunas. I have to apologise for the video that was on before, for anybody that's watching that may be underage. I know we're well before the watershed. There was a couple of bad language going on in the video. Apologies.
I must have missed those.
Yeah, there was a couple in the background, nothing major. So apologies if any offence goes out there. We are trying to be a little better with our P's and Q's. So again, you can't just highlight a cause of concern, because, again, we've kept a clean sheet. And we've kept a clean sheet because of the partnership and how confident the lads are playing. And like I said, the one person for me who seems to be standing out more than anybody else at the minute is Trippier, more than anybody else. Because of Trippier's history, he seems to go unmentioned on a lot of his faults and findings, because we always see a scapegoat. And like I said, for me, it ain't Dan Burn. Yes, he gets skinned for pace, but he doesn't get skinned in the air, and he certainly doesn't get skinned in a tackle, or being muscled out. And even some of the pros of years gone by have stated that the one thing that Newcastle have got in their favour is the strength in depth, as in bodily strength in depth. You look, when you look at our box midfield at times, Nottingham Forest hadn't got a clue how to get through that. And like I said, when you look at some of their mistakes, especially for the first goal, come from a mistake. where you've got, a ball coming to a very experienced player in Gibbs White. I'd love to see him in a black and white shirt. Gets muscled out by Bruno. And then you've got J7 and Tonali alongside them. So lots of depth, lots of strength within that squad. But we haven't got that next body coming in for me that could give us that next level. And I think, as much as I like Lewis Miley and I think he can do a job for us, he certainly isn't at the levels of the three that are around him. So I still think there's a body of work to happen there. But again, like I say, I am digressing on the subject. I do believe that we are at that point of need for a left back, and like I say, whether they go into the loan market in January and try and bring somebody else in, I'm unsure.
The bottom line for me, Gary, is I just think defence is the least of our problems at the minute. It's the other end of the pitch that we're kind of lacking.
Yeah, but it's more from the wingers, isn't it?
The only teams that have scored against us this season are Arsenal, Liverpool and Barcelona. Now, that's not a bad little list. Nobody else we've played can score against us. No. If we could keep that sort of form going, we'll be okay, because every good team always has been, always will be built on defence, because if the opposition can't score, then you're starting off with a minimum of a draw. And then it's up to you to break them down and score. So I'm not worried about the even as depleted as it is at the minute, they are still doing a magnificent job.
Yeah, but look, you see, and this is typical, look, because Yano's coming here, Dan Burn doesn't get skinned in the air, and that's what I've just said, right? And then he's put what with a question mark. So he's mentioned one time, which was, it was a crucial time because they scored from it. But again, when you're looking at, a defensive penalty box, which, it was thrown into the right area. He's made he's made a couple of yards run and had a leap, and he's glanced ahead through. I mean, that could happen against anybody. You can't just look at that one particular event and say he's being skinned week in, week out. I'll tell you who did get skinned week in, week out, and nobody ever mentioned it, was Fabian Schär. And that's what I'm saying. He's being utilised as a scapegoat by a lot of people because he's playing out of position. And it's unfair. It's unfair on the lad. And I like I said, you can't blame Dan Burn for playing left back. And you certainly can't blame him for being skinned by a decent set-piece situation where players have just, dropped off a little bit. And you've also got to say to yourself, how many times have we seen us get held back? I mean, look at the Dan Burn situation when he was thrown to the floor the weekend. Again, referees don't see it. They went to VAR, and VAR was very little contact. Now, come on, he's got both arms around his bloody waist, pulling him down. What did I see that I don't? Because
I tell you what, this is a subject on its own, actually, in terms of the way refereeing now is going to pot. But what I would love to see is when they see all the, which it's ridiculous now, the congestion that you get now from corners, and the pushing and the shoving and they're just and the grabbing. It just takes one referee to have the ball to wait. Just wait until that ball's kicked, so the ball is in play and go penalty.
Yeah, because that was his excuse, wasn't it, the weekend?
It would only have to happen once, and it would all stop. But the other thing I can't understand from corners is now, why do we, if we were to put Elanga and Gordon on either side of the semicircle in our half, so they can't be offside, the opposition team would have to put 4 players back potentially to protect them. Who are they going to put back? They're going to put their defenders back. So who's then not going to be in the box? for to attack the ball from all these fancy set pieces, the big central defenders. And I think you could do that at a stroke. I would just love to see somebody try it. It just doesn't happen anywhere in the league now. Every single corner or free kick in that kind of area is defended by the whole team. And I think that, as well as anything else, that makes it harder for the keeper.
Absolutely. Well,
because he literally can't get to the ball without maybe fouling somebody to get to it or whatever. So I think it's counterproductive.
No, I'm just going to go on Niall's situation here, given a false narrative that no one else is available to play left back. Now, obviously, Niall had put in previously that Trippier could play left back and Kraft could play right back. Now, I agree with you. I do agree that anybody can play as a full back, and I mean anybody. But it's the same adage goes to, well, why can't everybody play left centre back when we were struggling for a left centre back? Or a right centre back? You know, we've thrown Botman and Burns together at right centre back, and we didn't look safe. We didn't look as secure as we always do with the players playing in a natural position. That goes for fullbacks. There's only going to be a set number of players that are good, that can play versatile in all of the back four positions. Malik Chow has had a history of playing right back. But it's not his natural position. He's played right of a three, and he's also played left centre back. Again, as he said, I'm happy to play it, but not his natural position. So, like I said, Batman's happy to play right centre back. But would you ever ask Botman to go and play right back? Of course you wouldn't, because there's two things happening there. One, obviously, he'll get skinned because of pace. Two, he's coming onto his weaker foot if they go down the line. So, players also have to have the kahunas to say to the gaffer, listen, try me out there. That's why we've only got so many penalty takers within the squad, because you've got to, nobody wants to go out there, especially at St. James's Park, and have a bad game, apart from Willock. It just seems to me as though, we sometimes don't see the players as players. We've seen Kieran Trippier play left back for England. And I want you to tell me what Kieran Trippier did when he played for England at left back. Because I couldn't see a great deal happening at Kieran Trippier playing left back, if I'm honest with you. Apart from him doing his usual job, as he does when he's a right back and stays deep, doesn't go forward. He protects the back line. So Eddie wants fullbacks to attack. He wants fullbacks to go on and challenge. So if you're going to lose Kieran Trippier playing left back because he doesn't want to channel forward, you might as well keep him at right back, because that's what he does at right back, and he does that well, where everybody can shuffle across. You've got Botman then that can cover the left side of the defence. Chow sits central, and you've got Kieran Trippier who comes into the sixth role that can cover at the right side of defence. Now, for me, there was a number of times I saw against Nottingham Forest where Kieran Trippier did get himself forward, and it was Tonali that was getting back into the right back position to cover Kieran Trippier's backside. But we never mention it because he's not Dan Burns. And that's what I said. Unfortunately, individuals in Newcastle colours will get shouted out for playing their natural game to the best of their ability, but will never be applauded for doing what they do well. And that's what I said. For me, you've got to see it for what it is. And if you're going to knock Dan Burn, then you should also be knocking Kieran Trippier, who's playing in his natural position. So what's his excuse? My lord.
I rest my case, my lord.
Indeed. So, like I said, you know, you can point fingers all over the park in times. Not everybody is going to have a great game.
The bottom line is, right at this time, we haven't got Lewis Hall, we haven't got Livramento, so that back four is currently the best back four we've got. End of.
Yeah. So
meanwhile, back on the happy anniversary.
Yeah, go on.
Interesting, isn't it? Because I thought I would just go and bear in mind that neither Chelsea nor Man City had the PSR handcuffs on that we've had on. They just went out, splashed the cash and bought the best players. to get up there. And also bear in mind that they both started off with squads which were light years ahead of the squad that the Saudis inherited, PIF inherited. Man City take over 1st of September 2008. They won the first Carabao Cup in 2014, so it took them 6 years to win a Carabao Cup. FA Cup they won in 11 years. Premier League they won in not in 12 years. They won the FA Cup in 2011, which was 3 years after, and then they won the Premier League in 2012, which was 4 years after. Chelsea taking over 2003. They won the Carabao in 2005, took them 2 years. FA Cup 2007 took them 4 years. And Premier League they won in 2005, so that took them 2 years. But like I say, they could go out and splash the cash, which we haven't been able to do. So I think 4 years on, in 4 years since the takeover, we went from relegation to 2 Champions League qualifications and our first trophy in 70 years. I think we are bang on, for anybody to have expected any more, given the circumstances we found ourselves in, is pie in the sky.
Mm.
We keep on getting quoted as being the richest club in the world, but it's no good being the richest club in the world if you can't spend your money. So that's just something to ponder on, shall we say?
Yeah, indeed.
And I don't think it'll take us 10 years to win the league.
Probably not. But like, let's. Before I go into that, let me just show you this then, because this was an interesting graph that I saw, and I think this gives you a little bit of an insight on, what's been happening over the last few seasons. And you mentioned it. This is the XG trend over the time of the takeover, right? So as you can see, when Howe come on board here, XG was low. As you quite rightly said, it was literally after Christmas in the new year where we started to see the XG take a massive rise, and this was the against tally at the bottom. And again, and again, this seems to be Newcastle's theme, doesn't it? Start of every season, if you notice, very slow, yeah, and then it just ramps up massively towards the tail end. Again, in 24-25, drop off was massive, and then obviously we had that beautiful run that got us to where we obviously finished up, and again tail off towards the end of the season, which again seems to be typical Newcastle, apart from the first season of Howe's on board. So from Christmas onwards, it seems as though we have quite a good run of games. Again, going with what we've seen so far, and you were quite rightly saying,
almost a copy, isn't it? It's almost identical to last season.
It's absolutely bang on identical from last season. But the difference this year, obviously, and people will always say it, we've spent, £200 million. We've looked at players coming in. We've lost players, obviously. And we're still on the same trend. But we've, again, as you said, we've played 3 games without a striker. And I think that was massively telling for the first couple of games where we were dominant for majority of it. I certainly think there's a massive tail on reasons why these graphs do show exactly where Newcastle are at the moment. We are slow starters. We are strong through the middle of the season, and then we tail off again. Now, is that because of mentality, or is it the fact that we are using the same players as we have done in the last couple of seasons throughout the season and towards the end, fatigue sets in, and obviously we tail off again. Now, he hasn't got that excuse this time, apart from, again, I keep saying it, the midfield. Midfield is going to be the same bodies that I have to play virtually every week in, week out. And like I said, we've just done 7 games in 22, 23 days. And after the international break, it's going to be exactly the same, 7 games in 22, 23 games. And we are going to be, again, tasked to perform at a high level, because as fans, we don't want to see a drop-off. But there has to be, like I say, a reason for why we are. And as you've seen by that graph, and I know not everybody likes graphs, I've seen that in the chat, but it is an absolute true reflection, a mirror reflection of how we go season upon season. So there has to be a reason for it. Now, if we can see that as fans, why isn't Eddie trying to correct that?
But I think we know what the reason is. It's the transfer window. Every single time, 2 years ago we bought
3 windows.
We bought 3 windows. We've done nothing. But prior to that, when we qualified for the Champions League, we bought Tonali and Barnes to bolster the squad. Tonali not available virtually full season. Barnes not available virtually full season. So we still had what we had in 21, 22, and they were all getting older. And we knew half of them weren't good enough. We're regularly at the time referred to them as the deadwood. We've largely got rid of them now, but they've again this season we had the whole rat fiasco, which took the wind out of our sails, and then it took, because of the way that dragged on, which that can be a lot of we've done that debate to death anyway.
Yeah.
But the net result was we started this season without a striker, and in the Premiership, you can't do that. It's plain and simple.
Not if you want results.
We're now seeing the green shoots of recovery from that, albeit without one of the major signings that were made. And, to me, it's that there is absolutely nothing to be despondent about. Certainly not to the degree that a lot of the social media was going on about. It's on the way. We're on the way back. And happy anniversary.
Yeah, absolutely. 4 years in the making, and we have gone from, like I say, celebrating the takeover, and lots happened in those 4 years. A couple of snippets here, as you can see. One
of the main thing that happened was losing Amanda.
Yeah, absolutely. Then obviously we've had Carabao Cup win, and obviously we've been in the Champions League draw 2 out of the 4 years, and unlucky not to see a third in 4 years by a technicality, if you like. And I still think, when you look at St James's Park on a European night, it looks absolutely phenomenal. Something that I never want to not see anymore, if that makes any sense. It seems as if we've got that now nailed on, but nothing is nailed on unless you're Pardew, because Pardew's made that statement, hasn't he? He come out on Talk Sport and said he thinks that Newcastle have the quality within the squad to go on and win the league. I'm not sure we're there yet, if I'm honest with you. But the teams that have beaten us obviously finished, or at the minute live at the top 2. But there's a lot of teams around them that are playing really well that we are still yet to play. And on certain shows, depending on what team turns up, the team against Leeds didn't really didn't blow my frock up. But certainly the team against USG and Forest seemed to have turned a little bit of a corner. Now, is that us making that momentous drive forward?
Well,
the
next fixture will tell us a lot, I think.
Well, I think it will. Brighton,
you know, historically we've done pretty poorly away to Brighton, and Brighton are now better than what they have been. So that's going to be interesting. Everybody was expecting Bournemouth to be a walkover, and look what they're doing. You know, they are third or something in the league now. Yeah. So yeah, that's going to be interesting.
Yeah,
I think we can do it.
Yeah, for me, like I said, I think there's certainly different players to me show a little bit of character, and players that just play a natural game. I don't know whether you heard about the Anthony Gordon has spoken about the fierce competition for places in the England squad. Now we are doing a watch along against the Wales in the friendly on Thursday. And apparently he plays with paranoia to maintain form, is what his words were. I'm not sure whether that's the reasons why he runs around like a bloody headless chicken half the time. Because he certainly, apart from the penalties, which he took really well, if I'm honest with you, against USG, his form in front of goal, or creativity in front of goal, has been somewhat lax over the previous few, well, definitely this season.
I can't disagree with that, but what I would say is he somewhat makes up for that with his work rate, because the amount of ground he covers, and pressing and hassling and doing all that. I know we could argue that's not a winger's job, but under the system that Newcastle play, it is a winger's job.
Yeah, I mean, it's like if I could look at that work rate and try and equate it to XG assists or creativity in front of goal, then I'd give him a pat on the back. The problem is, for me, a lot of his work rate is done a lot of times selfishly, because his runs are mainly square, not direct at goal. When he has done the direction towards goal, where he's tried to beat the player on the outside, looks a different player. But for me, it is a case of trying to get a little bit more out of him, an extra 5% in and around the 18-yard box. I think that's where he needs to play before we start seeing the Anthony Gordon of old. Because, like I say, his work rate is phenomenal, and we saw that at USG, where he created that fourth goal, which was superb. But I still think there's a lot that he doesn't do enough for the squad in the creation side of things, especially the distance that he plays. And I know that's his natural game. He doesn't like to play inside because he feels as though he needs space, I think, for him to perform, especially on the turn and get at players, running at players. When he comes inside, when it's too crowded, he seems to go missing a lot of the time. So it'll be interesting to see how his game, if he gets a game, that is, in the England squad. Bruno Guimaraes will face a heavy international travel burden at the break, representing Brazilian friendlies in South Korea and Japan. That could lead to fatigue upon his return. And again, these are the little things that we need to be aware of when it comes to our game against Brighton, because have we got a character as good as Bruno's been, and a quality goal? Again, we see two sides of Bruno. A little bit quiet against USG because there was a job to be done, but he certainly come to the forefront and obviously got man of the match in a lot of people's books for his performance against Forest. The speculation, Newcastle may need to consider further additions up front, with Alexander Isak and Wissa unavailable until potentially the new year. Outsiders warn that the club is short of attacking options. Now, you mentioned this in previous shows. You believe in January there should be a look at people coming in. Now, I saw Ginger Hoskins had put in about Hendrick. And there seems to be a hell of a lot of mention around about this lad, Hendrick. And to be fair, he is struggling for game time when it comes to...
The only problem with Hendrick is that, similarly to the likes of Harvey Elliott, the reason right now that they're disenchanted is because they can't get
in the squad,
in the first team.
Yeah.
And if Hendrick comes here, does he get in the first team?
Yeah.
If assuming we've got Wisser and Walter both free, and then if that's the case, what then happens to Asula? Now, if we're talking about maybe Asula going in January, which there's a lot of talk about that as well, Frankfurt are apparently very interested in him. So if Asula does leave, then, three strikers for two positions is, well, again, and I'm saying two positions, the way we play, often it's one.
Yeah.
Because we play with a single striker.
Yeah.
But does that need to change?
Well,
and if it does, so let's assume that we suddenly decide, right, we're going to go whatever 4-4-2 or 4-3-2-1, whatever. If we do that, and then, which will happen, one of the strikers gets injured, then you've got to change the system again and go back to whatever 4-3-3 or whichever you decide. So unless you've got three quality strikers, presumably one of which who was happy to be in the wings. I mean, again, what you can do is, rotate them within games. 60 minutes, 30 minutes, whatever. So there's options there. But I don't think you're going to get any top quality player to come when they know that they aren't going to be automatic first choice in the first team.
Yeah,
and there was a LB who I quite like, who's a Man City YouTuber. He highlighted the problem that Man City have got right now.
Yeah,
said it's easy to buy first team players. Easy, if you've got the money, you can just go out and buy the best player in that position. The hard job is buying squad players. Squad players who are not only willing to be a squad player, but also willing to sit on the bench. And good enough, still be good enough for to come into the team and not make a noticeable difference. And it says that's the problem which City have had now for a few years. Getting the first team players is not a problem, but getting the bench players and keeping them happy, that turns out to be a massive problem.
Yeah,
and that's why I worry. I think Chelsea have got some fantastic players.
Oh, they have. I mean,
but how can you keep that many
42? I think it is, isn't it?
Quality players happy.
Well, they send a lot on loan, don't they? That's the thing, but it's like I said, the likes of, as we've seen and heard now with Ekitike, a lot of these players are given actually a false light, if you like, for when they're signed. Like Ekitike was. He was, according to the rumours, told he was going to be the main man at Liverpool. Well, he obviously isn't. And he's causing a little bit of unrest there. This is where managers or coaches, if you like, make the money, because the likes of Chelsea with 40 players, say, first teamers, there's a lot of disgruntled bodies out there, So he's got to try and keep that level-headedness across all of the platforms. And it's not easy to do. But, you know, a lot of these players that go there, and we've seen Delap isn't happy because of obviously Pedro coming in and going there. And he's obviously first choice. It looks like Delap is obviously, I think he's carrying an injury at the minute, but he seems to be right down the pecking order. This is the up-to-date list of all Newcastle-linked players. So 24 minutes ago, you've got the William Asula. This is from goal.com, where Eintracht Frankfurt, as you said before, have agreed personal terms with Newcastle previously. And are still monitoring his situation, where they obviously think he could go in January, depending on obviously what happens to Wissa. Tonali, again, being heavily linked to Juventus. Again, they're serious considering bringing him back to Serie A. And again, there's lots of rumours from Italy saying that there's a potential
He's been spotted in at home with his agent. What a surprise!
What a surprise! Yeah, indeed.
So he's in Italy because they're playing their home games 140 mile away from where he lives. So when he goes back to Italy, he goes to see his family and friends. And let's assume, just for example, surprise, surprise, Newcastle have offered him a new deal. So he's talking to his agent to say, this is what I've been offered, da-di-da-di-da. So how anybody can make a big deal out of that is beyond me.
Well, absolutely. But there is some interesting names up on this list, if I'm honest with you. But like I say, you're right. I think, you know, with all of these names, they see something and there's a story to be told. And whether the story has got any ounce of clarity to it or truth to it is beyond me. But Diakite is on the radar from Red Bull. He looks like a potential person that could be looking at coming in. Now, whether this is on loan or not, but again, we'll have to see. Exclusive revealed by Africa Foot this summer. May face a setback on his current loan club. Lausanne Sport is attempting to sign him permanently from RB Salzburg. According to a source close to the matter, the Swiss club has entered into negotiations with the Austrian side after the player's promising start of the season. Africa Foot reports that Lausanne is considering offering a 5-year contract, though discussions are reportedly difficult due to Salzburg's expectations. So there you go. That's where Diakite is. Like I said, there's been a lot of people around him. I mean, we've heard about the Ben Jacobs talks about Sven Botman in January potentially going as an alternative if Mark Gay decides not to go to Liverpool in the end. They're planning on looking at Sven Botman.
Look at what they are doing this season as well, by the way.
Absolutely. So it'll be interesting to see what happens there.
Wheel came off a bit at the weekend, but that's their first defeat in 17 or something.
Yeah. Kobe Mainoo, again, looking for a move in January, even though there was a sweetener, I suppose, from Man United, because he did get some minutes the weekend against the Mackhams. And to be fair, from what I saw from the highlights, he got a bigger a cheer than some of the goals did, actually, when he came on. So he's well respected on the Manchester turf there. Ter Stegen apparently is being looked at in and around Newcastle, or amongst the Premier clubs monitoring the German international. Not sure how much life's in that one, to be fair. And can he do a job for us? Not sure. But the one that really blew my frock up was Dani Olmo. And this is apparently they've been met with some of the representatives of Dani Olmo prior to the clash with Paris Saint-Germain. And it looks very much as though he is asking for more game time. Again, I previously stated Barcelona seem to have the best 2 number 10s that I can probably can name at this present moment in time. We can look at some of their figures and stats. They both shine. And it's, for me, it's criminal, the fact that this lad can't get more minutes. So I was really excited when I saw that Newcastle are reportedly keeping tabs on the situation ahead of a potential move, because he is certainly one player I would love to see in a black and white shirt. And then the Elliot Anderson, and again, I can't see that happening, if I'm honest with you. I think that, again, is just stories. Then you've got Locatelli. Again, this is coming from Juve, and I think this is where they're looking at Tonali, if I'm honest with you, because I'd seen this Locatelli, and there was another lad, wasn't Vlahovic, it was somebody else from Juve that they were doing, or potentially looking at doing, player and cash for Sandro Tonali. Now, I think Newcastle would be absolutely stupid at this present moment in time.
I think
to get rid of him.
Sandro has got to be the number one priority.
Yeah,
his form since he came back.
He's been incredible.
Unbelievable. I mean, his engine, like I say, 87th minute on Sunday, and he was still making a 60-yard sprint from his own box down to our left wing position.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
I mean,
Sandro's 120 million. I wouldn't even think about selling him for 120 million.
It's hard to put a price on somebody like him at the minute. You know, for what he gives you, he's phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal. Going on to,
he's just so good technically, isn't he? He's a joy to watch. He makes the game look so easy.
Well, I don't know what it was like for you live at the match, but against Forest, there was a ball that come across to the back stick, and it was a diagonal ball, and Sandro had found himself free on the angle of the 6-yard box, and it was an instep volley. It looked like it was going over Sells' head, and it was going to drop into the back of the net. Yeah. Sells manages to get literally a fingertip on it and push it over the bar. That technical was so good. I mean, I wanted to watch it over and over and over again.
Especially if it had been his right foot, that would have been the natural angle for it to go in. But to be able to do that with your left foot, the only thing I would say is similar to his goal against Brentford, you know, from that narrowest of angle, almost on the touchline, that Jacob Murphy replicated a couple of weeks later. Was it actually a shot, or was he just really trying to just get it into an area? So that's the only thing I would maybe question there. But forget about that. As you see it, actually watch it was just spectacular. Like, you know, they got the control on the ball was, and Trippier can do that as well from the right hand side. We've seen many a time where his sort of half, they're not even half volleys, they're volleys really.
Yeah.
With the instep of his foot from the right hand side of the penalty area. Some of those balls Trips puts in are sensational. And I think Trips and maybe it's Voldemort can come into that equation now, but technically I think Trips and Tonali are, you know, streets ahead of anybody else in the team.
Absolutely. Well, luckily for you, I have. It was a ball from Kieran Trippier, actually. And like I say, I can only play a small snippet of this without feeling as though I'm going to be shouted at massively. Now, the ball gets played out to Trips. And it, like, as you can see, the ball is out of the screen at the minute, I think, on your screen, because it's down into this section here. I don't know why I can't get it to get anything more. I can't. I don't know what it is. It just will not appear on your screens. I don't know why.
Did I go full screen there?
Yeah, I've done full screen, but then the actual thing goes out of context.
The out arrows. That's
yeah, that's what I said. But like I say, you can't get the full picture, but you'll get the gist of it in a second. The ball is down this way anyway, and then Kieran Trippier picks it up here. Look, and his first look. I mean, look at Sandro here. You know, it is phenomenal. He just drifts out of the box and he goes wide, and Trips sees, and like I say, Trips is further on down by the centre circle. He gets the ball to feet, and straight away you can see the drop of the shoulder from Sandro, and he's going to make a run diagonal into the box here. And again, there isn't a player. If you have a look at all of the Forest players, none of them are actually looking at Sandro. But the ball from Trips, and this is the one thing that I love about Trips, is he can knock the perfect ball on the occasion. And you'll see this. He just goes into the back post, look, and before anybody has time to react, he's actually behind them. And it's just this instep volley is absolute worldy. Bang, with his left foot. I mean, I thought this was just going into the back, over the top of Sell's head, and he just manages to get a fingertip on. What an absolute superb technical gift.
And as I say, you can see the Voltamara there running in.
Oh yeah, anything falling into the 6-yard box.
And that's why that's the only little sort of half query that I've got to that. What was he had because it wouldn't. In fact, I would be almost certain that Tonali had already seen him making that run, and was he trying just to get it in there for him?
Possible,
but
yeah.
Either
possible.
way, fabulous bit of football.
Fabulous. From like
and as I said on Sunday, and people were disagreeing with me. There was patches on Sunday when the football we played was absolutely fantastic. You know, there were few and far between, admittedly, but when we did start playing that one-touch football, Gary was saying on the show last night that when we if we can perfect that one-touch football, we're going to be unstoppable.
Yeah, I mean, the one thing that Voltamara has done for us is given us an objective. He has changed the play.
Everything.
He's changed the play a little bit, and you know, like you said, you know, one of my favourite players to watch of all times. And we are going to do a favourite player. We'll probably do that tomorrow night, actually.
I'm looking forward to that
with a panel. So we're going to have player manager, favourite manager, favourite captain, favourite centre back, favourite full back, favourite midfielder,
favourite everything,
favourite winger, favourite striker, and then you know, you can try and do it in your lifestyle time, and not the the pre-60 stuff. Oh, excuse me. Not the pre-60 stuff, but I mean, if we can try and keep it from the 60s onwards, that would be of interest to everybody. But I don't think...
trying to silly.
Well, I'm just saying, you know, not just you, because there's a lot of old boys that I witnessed as well. One, bless him, lost his way on this mortal coil over the weekend. And again, a lot of disgruntled Newcastle fans are questioning why we don't seem to be doing a lot. And I was, you know, a lad who spent 20 plus years playing for Newcastle, coaching Newcastle at lower level.
550 games.
Yeah, being involved in 550 games, managing us twice. It was twice, wasn't it? 3 times.
Well, twice, but once also as caretaker.
Yeah, caretaker manager, wasn't it? That's what I'm saying.
Who do we turn to? Ghostbuster, Ian McFall.
Yeah, exactly. But that's what I said. You know, it was an absolutely fabulous tribute that I read by one of the lads who had nothing but praise for him, and yet Newcastle couldn't do a thing. And I was really surprised why. And you guys mentioned, I didn't even notice it, you know, during the game when me and Chris were doing the watch along, but only a few players had the armband on. Not
Well,
everybody had the
I've
armband.
since checked everything, and I think the only one that I could, they're just so narrow.
So narrow, exactly. You can't tell or not, can you?
You can't tell whether they've got them on or not unless you've got to go and have it. Because I did that after we did the show. Because I hadn't, when I was watching at the match, I didn't even notice they had them on.
No.
Because they were so narrow. But then when you watch it again, and every time there's like a close up on a player, you can see they all appear to have it on, apart from J7, because some wag put in the chat, one of the shows we've done after that his biceps probably bust.
Yeah, absolutely. And it was John Gibson who wrote a paragraph or two. Newcastle do an awful lot right these unlightened days, and we're truly grateful for those years after the dross. However, I feel I must take up the cudgel on behalf of a large number of disgruntled fans about what I've perceived as an apparent lack of respect shown for former players. And you guys mentioned it yesterday about Willie McFall and Wyn Davies, where there wasn't even a minute's silence or even an applause honouring, and I find it really strange.
I was disappointed, to say the least. I mean, the Fairs Cup team now is gradually, there's not many left now.
No, there ain't. I think I say there's only Bobby Moncur. That I can recall.
I think Aaron Tough might still be alive. Foggin is, but he was just a bairn at the time.
Yeah.
I
must admit they've certainly missed out on two.
Craig's gone. Oh, Frank Clark's still alive.
Yeah. Well, people often
Pat
forget
Howard is
as
still
well.
alive because he was still very, very friendly with Wyn when Wyn died.
Yeah. Wasn't it McFall who brought in the first Brazilian?
Yeah, he brought Mirandinha.
Yeah.
No, wait a minute. Was it him or Glenn Roder?
No, it was him. It was definitely him.
All right. Well, there you go then.
It was definitely. I can actually see it being. He was being paraded around the ground because I was there. I am 99.9% it was McFall. And obviously he had the likes of Gazard and Peter Beardsley and Mirandina, as you said, served 22 unbroken years and can't even get a minute's silence. I just find it absolutely crazy. Frank Clark, Alan Foggin, Super Mac, obviously, John Anderson, all played when Willie was a coach. He had some great players, I must admit, while he was there. And like I say, he was apparently when he got a phone call, I don't know whether you heard the rumor or the story behind it. When he got the phone call to say that he was going to be asked to be the coach, they phoned him up. He was having dinner at home, and the first words out of the mouth, and I can't remember who phoned him up. They said, "You're closer to being sacked now than you'll ever be." And that was the first words out of the mouth. And apparently he was just eating his Yorkshire pudding or something. So, yeah, it was, like I say, great memories of the lad. Like I say, he was still playing when I started watching the lads, early 70s. And like I say, he went on to serve the club for 20 plus years. So massive contributory factor towards Newcastle that couldn't even honour him with a minute's silence. I find it disgusting. I really do. Well, anyway, let's crack on with a little bit more news. Just going on to the academy, the women's side, Women's Academy has been awarded a Category 1 professional game academy licence. This gives the club stronger youth structures for under-21s and under-16s women's teams, aligning them with the top-tier development standards. The men's academy, less prominent recent headlines, but Newcastle's youth structure is generally regarding as progressing in the right way. And with injuries to the senior side, there are likely opportunities for the young players such as Shahar and Murphy getting more minutes. Just again, looking at the board picture, transfer and recruitment is under some scrutiny with attackers out or unavailable. Rumours suggest Newcastle may revisit plans to bolster striking options in the future windows. The clubs continue to explore the stadium development or expansion. Again, there's lots of rumours now saying that they're going to stay where they are and just redevelop potentially the Gallagher end. But again, that's still not 100%, but it seems to be being employed as a favourable part because of the Leazy's Park situation. There's also been ongoing conversations and rumours about players' departure and interest from other clubs. As we said, Nick Voltemada apparently is also hitting the spotlight for being sent or being at least poached back to Germany, and the backups of the likes of Asula may also draw attention, as we say, for Frankfurt. But like I say, for a lad who seems to have walked into the team and he seems to be under no pressure whatsoever. Voltemada.
You've gone very faint, Gary.
Probably because my voice is going. Yeah, there you go. A cracking picture of him there. Look,
I'm just.
Yeah, Mirandino.
Oh, there you go. That's with your Mac Fall behind him.
Yeah, there you go. It was superb. Like I say, I mean, everybody was expecting, the next best thing, if you like, because he was a Brazilian. Didn't quite happen, but like I say, he was a cracking lad. He
gave us some good moments.
He certainly did.
No,
I mean, like
notably
I say,
Old Trafford away.
And Marco, you're absolutely right. I think I have to go a long way to say, who was my favourite player of all times, and I'm still finding it very difficult not to say Beardsley, because he was just exciting. Every time he had the ball, his feet dancing, he was so small, great centre of gravity, seems to be able to beat players. And I mean, you've got to also think that he was he's not on a carpet. Can you imagine how good that lad would be on today's grass? Phenomenal.
Have a look at this then, 2 secs.
I've just had some breaking news come through on Luke Edwards. Go on.
How do I do this? Go there.
You're going on. You're gonna have to go on your dynamic, aren't you?
Yeah. And go. You talk about Peter Beardsley's footwork.
Oh, I know. It's the Voltemada. Can't see it win. I can only.
You can't see it.
I couldn't see it on mine. I can see it on the screen. Yeah. That's what I said when he had that 2 players behind him and 3 players in front of him, and he still come out with the ball against USG. Absolutely crazy. So what's I've just been sent some news. I don't know how. My computer's just gone bang. You've probably lost me.
Oh, you're still there in voice, but we've lost.
Yeah,
you've frozen.
That's why I said my camera's just gone up bang. I don't know why. It's nothing. Nothing of any stature anyway. It was.
It's not a bad little still you there.
Newcastle are a decade away from fulfilling Saudi Arabia's dream. Until wage budget matches their rivals, they will struggle to close the gap. And I think I think everybody knew that, to be fair. But going on to the other breaking news, I suppose, was a lot of like the Sports Business Journal had put out 55 billion to a consortium that have bought EA Sports. And obviously, a lot of people were looking at that as being, is this going to be an open door? But because obviously they've gone in as a consortium, it was they've entered into a definitive agreement to be acquired by investor consortium comprised of the Saudi Arabia's PIF, Silver Lake Management, Affinity Partners, in an all-cash transaction that values EA at an enterprise value of approximately £55 billion. It is the largest all-cash sponsor take-private investment in history. Under the deal, the consortium will acquire 100% of EA, with PIF rolling over its existing 9.9% stake in the company, because obviously they already had a stake in this company in their portfolio. The deal, which was approved by EA's BOD, is expected to close in the year 27, in the first quarter of 27. Upon completion of the deal, EA will remain headquartered in Redwood City, which is the Electronic Arts Centre. The Hollywood Reporters, which is Alex Weprin, writes EA, which is behind sports video games franchises, Madden NFL, college football, NHL, FC, UFC, and F1, is one of the biggest players in gaming, and EA CEO Andrew Wilson has spent the last decade plus transforming its business model to focus more on recurring revenue like subscriptions. Wilson will remain CEO of the company and will take private incomplete and will be the major shareholder himself. So massive consortium have gone in there, like I say, and put money in. Will that be anything for Newcastle? No, it won't.
Well, unless EA suddenly starts buying the EA Stadium.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. There may be something come from this. When I am going to jump out for a second and jump back in, mate.
Well, listen, Gary, it's 29 anyway,
pointless.
and
pointless.
I've got to get away.
That's
so we'll call it a day there, chaps.
Yeah. Okay.
Join us tonight at 9:30, 9 o'clock tonight, isn't it?
Yeah, 9 o'clock. But I think Chris has put it out at 9:30.
No, 9:30. 9:30 tonight, because it's Chris tonight, isn't it? Yeah. So 9:30 tonight, chaps. Smash the likes. If you haven't subscribed, subscribe. We're still 7 short of 8,000. Come on, hit the subscribe button.
You can do it.
Get to that 8,000, and we'll have a celebration tonight to go along with our happy anniversary, which is what it is today.
Indeed.
So with Gary frozen as we speak,
it is a goodbye from him.
Let it go.
It is a goodbye from him. Quick.
It's a goodbye from him, and it's a goodbye from him.
Yeah, exactly. And we'll see you all.
Away the lads.
The lassies and bairns. Take care, everybody. Have a lovely afternoon.
Happy anniversary.
Indeed.